taken or not taken in the past. We haven't built transit, and we've now got to make up for lost time. And there is still plenty of room to make lots of responsible decisions, which we're doing, and to do it in the best way possible, but that we've got to get on with this. The decision was made to build a subway as opposed to an LRT in 2013. I can't really comment on the basis upon which that decision was made or the information that was available at that time. As you know, I wasn't here. I will say there have been tons of studies commissioned by the city, some not commissioned by the city, some done by academics, certainly fully reported on in the media and made available to members of City Council on just about every aspect of this project, and in fairness, making the case one way or the other for different ways in which transit could be built in Scarborough. So I think there have been plenty of sources of information put in front of the people. And I also want to make one more point that I think is extremely important. And that is that let's remember, in the aftermath of this discussion today, this proposal came forward from our professional planners as a Scarborough network transit proposal, very much including an express subway. But that's where it came from our professional planners, the experts that we retain on our staff, accompanied by voluminous materials that talked about why this was a project and a program and a network that would work for Scarborough in terms of jobs and investment and opportunity and better transit. The final point that I will make is that I do hope, and again I express this hope knowing that it hasn't happened in the number of years that have passed since 2013, but I hope that maybe we can move forward from this continuous relitigating, continuous redeciding of the question of LRT versus subway, and that if those who are opposed to the subway, and I understand their opposition, but if they could devote 10% of the energy that they have been devoting to trying to derail the subway project, the subway extension project, to helping me fight to get the funding from the province to accompany the money that has been allocated by the federal government, they would be doing a far greater service to all of the people of Toronto, including those in Scarborough, in terms of moving forward with transit. We need the province to step up now with their share to match the money that has been put forward by the federal government, and then we will have to come to grips with our own share. But we need that help now, and I need the council to support me in fighting for Toronto's interests and fighting for transit in Toronto, and I hope I'm going to have that support. I want to just again close by thanking my colleagues, those that are here and those that, all of the colleagues. I mean, it was one of those debates that lasted a long time and it had moments, some that were better than others, but at the end of the day, a decision was taken and I hope we can move forward now. But I want to thank these colleagues who are here for standing here now and for voting with the transit network proposal and the items on the table today. Your questions?
It's true that staff brought forward this network proposal that was advanced today, but they were directed to build a subway. That was not their choice. And we heard staff say repeatedly today they were never given the opportunity to provide the kind of comparison that was proposed today on the floor of council. So what would be the harm in looking at that comparison of a subway to an LRT, that kind of comparison we've never seen? I didn't hear the staff saying they weren't given an opportunity, because the implication in your question is that somehow somebody prohibited them or prevented them or told them they couldn't do it. What I do remember very clearly, because I was here for this part, was that they came forward with a proposal, our professional planning staff, and it was a proposal that included an express subway to Scarborough City Centre and an LRT, and that put together with Smart Track, which was already on the table, this was going to provide a transit network option for Scarborough that they endorsed. That's all I remember. And I presume when they brought that forward to us, they included all information they wished to include in order to allow us as the elected decision makers to make the wisest possible decision in the interests of the citizens of Toronto. And so I just believe that it is important for people to note, and the media included, this proposal that is the one that is proceeding forward. It has had some adjustments with respect to cost, but this proposal came from professional public servants and planners, and it is a network proposal, which is why I've always spoken of it that way, because it holds together as a whole. You can't separate one part from another.
When you were elected, you said several times that you wanted to make evidence, fact-based decisions while you were in office. And City Councilor Matlow put forward a motion that said, we'll keep going with the subway, but we'll look at sort of the cost analysis built to make an evidence fact-based decision. So why say no to something like that?
My guess is there has never been a transit project in the history of this city that has received more analysis, had more reports written about it, had more studies done on it than this one. And I am simply saying that if this study wasn't good enough or didn't come to the right conclusion, there'd be a request for another one. And then there'd be another one after that. And I am saying that the people of Toronto have made it quite clear to me, not unanimously, but the vast majority of the people have made it clear to me they want us to get on with building transit in Scarborough and in the rest of the city. And that is what I intend to do. I think we have plenty of information in front of us in terms of all of the reports that have been written over time, even reports that weren't commissioned by the city, but they're out there. And I think if we want to put those together and continue to analyze, that's fine. I'm more interested in getting on with the job, finding ways to keep the cost down, but most importantly, to get this transit network implemented and move forward from there to build the relief line and to build the waterfront LRT, because that's what I think people expect me to do. I think they believe enough analysis has been done, enough debates have been held, and certainly enough votes have been held with the same result the last 8 or 9 times.
Mayor, to your point about getting on with building transit, according to city staff, shovels will hit the ground in 2020, service will begin in 2026. But with, we see how council runs, and there's a lot of debate and discussion and at times delays. And we also see the concerns on behalf of your council colleagues about the cost and the potential for it to balloon. So how confident are you that, construction crews will start digging in 3 years and this will be done in 2026? People have been waiting. I
want the people of Toronto to understand that I will be doing everything I possibly can to, if anything, push the cost down. We have a report that identifies hundreds of millions of dollars in potential cost savings in how we go about building this subway. We have an opportunity to make decisions as we go forward that can benefit people in the financial sense. But the one thing that I'm not prepared to sort of back off on is my determination to see us build transit. And so I will be working with my council colleagues, because there isn't much I can do on my own, to get the money from Queen's Park, which is an absolute necessity, to go along with the federal money which we have or are about to receive, and to keep pushing this forward and push all the other transit projects forward as well. This city is starved for additional public transportation. We have a priority list that has been agreed to by the City Council, and we're going to proceed to get those priority projects funded, and we're going to get them built, and I'm going to use every ounce of strength and determination I have to make sure they don't get bogged down and that they get built and people can ride on them, because that's the only way we're going to keep this city healthy and livable for the future.
You got quite heated during the debate, pushing back on what you perceive as unfair criticism of the sort of the real person anecdotes, what people are telling you about the subway and the savings, time savings that'll bring. Given the level of study that you just described, and given I have a whole drawer full of reports myself, why is it important to rely on these anecdotes on time saving? Why bring that up at all? Why is that relevant?
Oliver, I'll be totally honest with you, and I try to be honest all the time around here, and I will tell you that in the context of that particular series of questions, I don't take offense at much. But I take offense, for example, at a journalist who tweeted out that I was basically being dishonest by simply reciting what people had told me in truth. And some of them told me these things in public at a public deputation. And I think for somebody to suggest I'm basically making this stuff up, or that I'm not telling the truth or fabricating stuff, I think is way over the top. I don't think you can cite an instance in which I have stood here and been dishonest with you, privately or publicly, you or other journalists in this press gallery, since I've been here. I try my hardest not to do that. And so to have it suggested that by citing what people have actually said to me, some of them in a public meeting where you can go and review the tapes of what they said, where they said they'd save 10, 15, 20 minutes on their commute to go to school, to go to work, and so on. One of my council colleagues standing right here has said those very things in a public setting and to me privately. And to have people suggest that I am somehow being dishonest or that it's illegitimate for me to cite those things, not with equal weight or more weight than the studies, but just to cite it as one thing that can be taken into consideration in assessing how these things will all work going forward, I just find way over the top. And I just think that people have to ask themselves whether, again, they really are going to get to the point. We've got to the point where that drawer full of studies is more important, that we're really going to turn real people into fake news. Real people with real opinions and real stories in their lives. I'm not going there.
Mayor Tory, no one's discounting the fact that someone may have said to you they feel like they'll save 20 minutes. The issue, though...
I'm not, Jennifer, with respect, I'm not going to debate this with you, because I think that the stuff that's been on Twitter and other places speaks for itself on this.
But is it fair for you to cite something that someone believes about a line that they've never ridden, and whether that's something that
Jennifer, with the greatest of respect, every single one of these studies that you speak so much about, all of you talk about, and that I've read and that I respect as well, are based on a subway that nobody's ridden on either. And they're based on bus lines that actually in some cases don't exist. They're based on census information I could argue is out of date. So everything has its imperfections. All I am saying is that the notion that people, whether it's journalists or fellow members of council, should suggest that when I merely recite things that people have told me, including a member of council, including students who deputed and others in front of the executive committee, that the notion that I should be told that it's illegitimate for me to cite those people as evidence of one of the reasons why we're going to proceed ahead with this kind of project, this network project, to me is way over the top. And to have a previous exchange we had on this subject cited on Twitter as if it was some sort of scandalous misrepresentation that I had made, an extraordinary exchange, I think it was called, I just find absolutely incredible. And I try to conduct myself here in the utmost professional manner. And I just don't expect that sort of treatment. And I think some of the treatment accorded me in the council chamber to do was also disrespectful. And I don't get mad very often about these kinds of things, but there are times. I'm a professional person. I conduct myself professionally. I've run this city, been its leader in a professional manner, and I intend to continue to do so. And it's going to be based on all of the studies, but including what people tell me, the people that I represent and that sent me here to City Hall.
Don't you see there's a fundamental difference, Mayor?
That discussion, we've had enough questions on that, I'll say with respect. If there are other questions on other matters, I'm happy to take them.
There was clearly some concern about the Eglinton East LRT and what funding would be there for that. What assurances can you give people that would be taking that line in the future?
I can give them the assurance that I'm going to fight with every ounce of strength and determination I have, together with my colleagues, I hope. Because so far I will say it's been a reasonably lonely vigil to get the money that we need from Queen's Park to accompany the federal money that we now apparently have, and I say apparently because we don't know the exact parameters of it, and that money is going to be to address a number of these projects, including the Scarborough East LRT. It's a priority project for us. It is a part of the network transit plan, and I am going to put every ounce of strength and energy that I have behind that plan.
Last question.
Mayor Tory, just on the first question, staff said repeatedly today that they were directed to bring forward a subway plan.
By the City Council.
Right, and there's no circumstance being the case that they could have brought forward 2 LRTs, for example, because they were directed to build a subway. How can we have confidence today without having that value for money comparison that the subway is the right decision?
Let me go back to the beginning again. And I acknowledge completely the fact that the City Council, what we do is we give directions to the public servants to do things, and they carry those out. That's what we're elected here to do, to make the decisions. And there was a direction made, and it really just confirms. I mean, it's interesting that you say to me there was a direction given to come back with a subway plan, and yet we have Councillor Perks and others arguing there's never been a decision taken to build a subway. Well, there actually was one, and they were given direction to bring a plan back in that regard. And that wasn't the first time. It started in 2013. And all I can argue is this, that since 2013, and I can't speak for the information that was available when that decision was taken at that time because I wasn't here, since 2013 and before, there have been all kinds of studies. There were huge debates that took place here about LRT versus subway. There were reports written. You could probably stack them up and they'd stack up to the ceiling about LRTs and subways and all the rest. And I would just say to you that the notion that we're going to have one more study, I guarantee you that any one more study that was approved today of any kind, whether it was the one that Councillor Matlow was suggesting or not, would have led to a request for another study and another study and another study. And I believe the people of Toronto have said to me, and I believe they said to my colleagues, enough studies. Get on with the job, do it for the lowest cost you possibly can, which is what I'm determined to do, but I'm going to get transit built. My colleagues are committed to getting transit built because we desperately need that transit for the sake of the economy of this city, for the sake of the livability of this city. We have to get on with stuff that wasn't done in prior years when people were so busy studying things. So I thank you very much. I'm sorry that I got a little bit exercise today, but I'm entitled sometimes to be a little bit indignant about things too, because I'm a human being and I'm working very hard at this job trying to do the right thing. And I'm not going to be right every day, but I'm trying to do the right thing with the support of my colleagues. Today, they voted by solid majority to support what was brought forward here, and we're going to proceed forward with it, and there will continue to be people who are opposed to it. But my focus will be on building and getting the money necessary to pay for it. That's what we're going to